Hello and welcome. We are Tools in the Shed powered by CarsGuide. We're ready to rip into car stuff that's caught our eye this week. I'm Richard and with me is Senior Editor Matt Campbell.
Hello.
M4 has come straight back from Paris and straight into a small SUV comparison.
Yes.
You'll be talking a little bit about both. And also with us is Mitcho.
G'day, kiddos.
You are going to be talking about a pretty heavily modified Jaguar E-Type. And we'll also be checking in with our favourite Twitter-addicted saviour of the future in this week's Muskwatch. So stay with us. But first up, M4, you've just got back from Gay Paris.
I have.
Got to say, courtesy of Peugeot over there. And covered a lot of Peugeot stuff, a lot of other things as well. Tell us, you got our eyes and ears on the ground. What did you see?
Okay, I saw a lot of the Peugeot and Citroën stands at the show. Mm-hmm. I didn't see much else though. It was back-to-back meetings, interviews, roundtables, all that sort of stuff, which is what led me to be able to write quite a bit of interesting news out of that camp. But, generally the show, Paris Motor Show for me has for a long time been one of the more exciting shows to go to. It's manageable in terms of its size. There's all the big players there. This time around, it had the feeling of, holy crap, this could be the last one.
Yeah.
There were a
lot of manufacturers who didn't turn up.
Yeah, heaps didn't show up. The crowds were down, which made it easier to try and manage to get videos and look around the cars and that sort of thing. But it would just, not the same vibe as usual.
One of the things that I like about motor shows, though, apart from, one of the issues I've had with motor shows, it does feel like a big car showroom.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about motor shows is that you get to meet the big wigs. And
Yeah.
You get to ask those questions directly. Now, you got to meet. You got to meet.
We're talking about Red Rooster before we
We're
started,
talking about Red Rooster. I've got that on the mind. You got to meet Peugeot CEO Jean-Philippe Imperato,
Yes.
who's my favourite dramatic CEO.
Yes.
He reminds me a bit of Magato from Zoolander.
Yeah.
He said that, I quote, "We're not going to build a Google box."
Yeah.
What is he talking about there?
Yeah, so he's talking about the sort of car where you have no involvement and it's just a pod. So he sees the future of electric cars and autonomous cars as being something more akin to a mix of some brands will do the pod thing and they'll be fully autonomous and you won't need a driver at all. Other brands will do you can still be the driver, the steering wheel can fold away. You'll still have conventional cars, of course, but he wants to imagine the future of electric autonomy as it can be anything. It doesn't have to be defined by this long-held vision of a pod or something weird like, a shared space that you have to share with 5 or 10 other people. It was a pretty thinly veiled swipe at the straight across the showroom floor was Renault's concept car, which was a 7-meter long communal. It's like a minibus. Let's just call it an autonomous minibus. And the point being that there's no real desire for Peugeot or Citroën to do that. As we saw with the E-Legend concept, which was absolutely gorgeous in person.
Yeah.
And they said they've got a petition out there. If we get 500,000 signatures, they're going to build it.
Wow.
So this is a brand that knows that it's got obviously heritage in France and in Europe as, it's a pretty dominant player in Europe, and they want to be there in the future, not just in the present. And so to be able to talk about, what could happen if they have enough people interested is really cool. Like it's kind of refreshing.
He's also pretty militant about doing the right thing in terms of the climate and in the environment. And even though he said that diesel will continue to exist for a bit longer in commercial cars, he's had it with them sort of in passenger cars.
Yeah, exactly. The answer to the question about whether you still invest in diesel is no. There's no investment in diesel anymore because
a lot of brands are going that way.
It's a lost cause.
Yep.
We've just seen there's news today about Fiat pulling out of diesel in a couple of models in Europe. And this is, as we said, mainly passenger cars because commercial vehicles still aren't at the point where adopting any sort of electrification in a mass sense is viable. But and diesel is just so commonplace. It's just the thing that you do when you're buying a commercial vehicle in Europe, even in Australia. Obviously, dual cab utes, 99% of them are diesel. And so it's interesting for him to say that they're not investing in that anymore. But the cool thing about it was the way that he put it forward is when you're buying a Peugeot in the future, you'll be buying a Peugeot and then you're buying a drivetrain.
Yeah.
So you'll have, say, the next generation 208. There will be a petrol version, there'll be a hybrid version, or a plug-in hybrid version, or an electric version.
Yep.
So you're buying that car, and then you choose which one you want.
Yep.
And I guess that's cool because it's going to offer more and more buyers the choice of what they can have. But also in cities in Europe where they're starting to clamp down on petrol cars and diesel cars in regular cars in city centres, this is going to mean that electric cars are going to have an inherent value that petrol cars won't.
That's it. And at this point in time, the resale value on hybrids and electric vehicles isn't that great because nobody really knows how expensive it's going to be to replace a battery. Whereas, petrol and diesel ones, a petrol Corolla would have a higher resale value than a hybrid Corolla at this point in time. And as you said, look, Oslo, Madrid, Copenhagen, Paris, Athens, Helsinki are looking to ban diesel and combustion engine cars from their city centres very, very soon. So what happens if you've just bought a diesel or petrol car?
Well, this is why the time is nigh for brands like Peugeot and Citroën and all the other European brands to really think about what they do and what they offer, because we've heard so many stories of brands saying we're going to be 100% electrified by 2025. Of course you are. That's just how it's going to happen. That's not we write the story because it's good to hear it from the mouth of some executive at a particular brand. But that's, if you look at the way the emissions regulations are going in Europe, if you have to be at, say, 40-something grams of CO2 as a fleet average by 2025, that means, of course, you're going to have the majority will be plug-in hybrid, the rest will be electric or regular hybrid, and diesel will be, this minuscule player. But then there's the other angle on it all about performance.
That's right.
And cars being fun to drive.
That's it, yeah.
Because essentially we've found out that the current 308 GTI will be the last petrol GTI. And the existing 208 GTI, as we saw, there was a Edition Definitive, which is there was no real pinpoint confirmation of it, but it's the last petrol GTI we're going to see.
Wow.
The next generation versions will either be in that small segment, they'll either be completely electric, or in the next segment up, plug-in hybrid. And we've seen that with the 308, Hybrid R or 308R Hybrid, I think it was called, which had some stupid amount of power, 580 horsepower or something like that. It was silly, but that's where performance is going. And how good is it that you can have your cake and eat it too?
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned the 208 just a little bit earlier. Now, Peugeot have confirmed that the 208 is coming to Australia.
Yes.
Probably not the electric one, but definitely the petrol one. What else did you find out about that car? That's a new generation car too.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll have electric versions sold in some markets. Obviously, Australia, the cost, the complexity of our market, if you bring in a $50,000 electric hatchback, you're not going to sell many of them. But
no one's going to want it.
Yeah, if you bring in, say, a $25,000 to $30,000 hatchback that has a regular petrol engine or a plug-in hybrid at the high end, then maybe you've got a point of difference in the market. But then on top of that is probably the more important car, the 2008, which is the SUV that's based on it. It's towards the end of its life cycle as well, although it doesn't seem like it's been around that long. It's still a fairly fresh and fairly impressive small SUV in the segment. And I'll come to a car that I've driven that's based on that car a little bit later. But the 2008 could be the most important car in Peugeot's lineup moving forward, because it does offer the SUV-ness that people want. But at the moment, the bulk seller is the 3008, which is the next size up SUV worldwide. So Peugeot's all of a sudden gone from this brand that has little tiny hatchbacks to SUVs at 44,000 euros was the average price.
Yeah, and the 4008 too.
Yeah.
Which is a handsome looking
They've
car.
got some really nice looking
People
cars.
mover. Yeah. Now, talking of handsome looking cars, we're going to throw to a bit of a word now from our sponsor at Winton.
In 1914, two Aussie visionaries decided it was time for a new kind of car. After meeting face down on the floor of the Bridge Hotel in Echuca, mates Ern Alcock and Horry Wheeler began working on their dream, and 3 years later the Winton Motor Company was born. Our founders knew Australians needed a rugged car for tough local conditions with no-nonsense performance and breakthrough design. Their first production model, the 15, known to Winton enthusiasts the world over as the Mongo, was an unstoppable 15-cylinder force of nature, which set the benchmark for the Wanderers, Wildcats and Turbos that have followed in its illustrious wheel tracks. As Prime Minister Billy Hughes, standing next to the first Mongo, uttered those famous words, "She's a ute," Australians knew they had a winner on their hands. And 101 years later, Winton remains at the frontier of progress and performance, with the groundbreaking 2018 Winton Turbo exported to more than 100 countries. We think Ern and Horry would approve. The Winton Motor Company. Go Australia.
Look.
Where is he?
Where is he? Frosty. Now, look, we're not talking about Frosty, the Mark Winterbottom Frosty.
No, we're talking about the proper Frosty.
The original Frosty.
Yep.
The head of PR.
And not the snowman either.
Not the snowman. Well, maybe he's the original, but look, probably the second Frosty, best known to mankind, is the head of PR for the Winton Motor Company. And look, our only sponsor of the CarsGuide podcast, if you check out the shed that we're sitting in, Winton have now got a bit of an advert on the side of it. A very expensive piece of real estate as well, just on that wall, just there.
You might not be able to see it.
But look, you might not be able to see this either if you're listening. But if you're watching along on home, you will be able to see a shot that we did manage to get of Frosty. Now, it was taken during the podium, the Brock Trophy awarded podium to Mr. Lowndes and Mr. Richards for taking out the 2017 Bathurst 1000. 2018 as well. Well, 2015? And then 2018. Was that right? Okay.
You hope so.
This year's Bathurst 2000.
The comments will let you know.
This year's Bathurst 1000. Now, Frosty has been spotted once again in his Stig outfit. Now, if you have a look, I've drawn a crudely drawn arrow pointing to him there in the background. Look, you might have also noticed that the safety car at this year's Bathurst 1000 was also a Winton, driven by Frosty. Originally, it was supposed to be Fernando Alonso. Frosty also looks after the interests of Fernando.
The Nance, as you call him.
Fernandes, Big A. Look,
I don't know if he calls him Big A.
No, he doesn't call him Big A.
That can mean a few things.
That's what I call him. But Fernando actually had a prior commitment on in Japan, from the Grand Prix in Japan.
Yeah.
It sort of takes a bit of precedence over other things.
Safety car honours.
That's true. So
it's always like Frosty to put his hand up if they need a helping hand.
Look, he's
top bloke.
Well,
he's
a good bloke.
That's the type he is. Now, look, where is he off to next? Look, I can't reveal Frosty's calendar, but what I can do is I can reveal the Winton Raceway calendar. Coming up on October 20 is the Winton Fun Day, and look, I'm not going to say anything else, but you keep your eyes peeled for Frosty down there. He's around. He might be on the barbecue manning the sausages. But look, he's happy to get down with the people.
Boy, oh boy.
Back to where it all began.
Does he know how to handle a sausage?
Talking of handling sausages, Mitchell, you've uncovered or taken off a lid of worms.
Oh, yes.
A highly modified Jag E-Type.
Yes, so a few people are going to love or hate this creation. So there's a guy in America who's got an E-Type Jag, and just the shell of it, ripped it to guts and everything.
Already, my heart's hurting.
Okay. So what he's done is he's begin to actually it's been around for a while, and he's been modifying it and slowly getting it to up to scratch, I guess. So what he's done, instead of having a straight six in the engine, he's decided to go with the 8.4 litre V10 from a Dodge Viper.
Wow.
And
okay.
Yes, and that's a relatively powerful engine, right?
Just a bit.
just a bit. So
It's a big engine.
Well, it is big. But yeah, so he's decided to go one step further and throw two turbochargers on it. There we go. Got there in the end. So there's not actual he hasn't actually revealed how much power it's pushing out yet, or he hasn't done a dyno.
I know the answer. It's too much.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's between, hold on, let me bring up the figures here. It's set to make between 895 kilowatts to 1,119 kilowatts.
Wow. Think of the work you need to do to the chassis, to the brakes, to
everything.
Every single component.
One of the things I like is obviously the rear end's custom. It's got a 9-inch diff. The chassis is all custom, but the suspension is taken from a Mark II Mustang.
Right.
Look, that's...
I don't know whether that's good or bad.
No, I don't know if that's good or...
I reckon that's... I don't know if that would be able to handle the power.
No, well, not that amount of power.
No.
I reckon you'd need to do some extra spot welds around the body there. And
you might have to box the chassis, I'd say.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What other modifications have been made? I mean, what in terms of the body itself? I've noticed there's the side exhaust. I mean,
side exhaust, all that kind of stuff. He's thrown in a wood grain dash. There's a lot of switches and stuff. Who knows what they do and all that kind of stuff. It's still a bit away from completion. I'm looking forward to seeing the end result. Mm-hmm. But I just want to ask the question: where do we sit with modifying old classic cars? Because I know, as I said, people will either like or dislike this.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
M4? What do you reckon?
I love the resto mod scene. So I love a car that looks original or even ratty and has, the most up-to-date, most modern possible drivetrain and components under the body. I love that idea. I love the idea of, having modern-day conveniences in a classic shell. And if I could have an E-Type with even just an F-Type V6S engine in it, that'd make me pretty happy.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be great, because what you're doing there is just you're kind of you're hat tipping the past, but you're retrofitting it with the future, and you're actually putting in the engine that the E-Type engineers would have put in had they had it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, my background is hot rodding, and there's a whole there's many facets to hot rodding. You've got the nostalgia guys who will who will run cross-ply tires in the wet and run flathead V8s, and I love that. It's the full nostalgia thing, and they'll make sure that they won't use a modern bolt in the car if they can get around it. And then you've got the street rodders, who it's all about is going as fast as you can with an old sort of body. So you might have a 32 Ford, but you might put in something late, like maybe a 351, or even later, like an LS engine or something like that. They've got no issue with that. Even putting a Chevy engine or a Holden engine into a Ford. They'll even put for example, my stepfather, sorry, not my stepfather, well, my stepfather as well, but my father-in-law were out at a swap meet once, and I've got a 1951 Ford. He saw some XR8 seats and said, they'd look good in your Ford. So now that's a street rodder, right? Because they're all about high performance in old school sort of body. I'm sort of somewhere in between. I don't think XR8 seats would suit a 1951 Ford.
God, no.
But I'm all about, adding a bit more power and not necessarily going low tech just for the sake of it. Flatheads are great, but they're unreliable, they're expensive to run, and you don't get to go very fast. This is another form of hot rodding. But it's interesting that they've used...
Some people might just say it's a form of ruining.
Well, that's it as well, because the Jag E-Type, 1951 Fords are a dime a dozen, right? And some would argue that 32 Fords are very, very rare as well. But there's something quite special about an E-Type, and I don't think they're honouring its past at all in this. No. But at the same time, the hot rod gods would be pretty happy, because that engine, I'm looking at it now, and if you can see it at home on your screen, the engine fits pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
They've got plenty of engine bay to put it in. But at the same time, there'd be some Jag diehards out there who would be pretty angry. Personally,
as cool as it is, I can't say that I really like it. I'm very if it's original, keep it original, like older classic cars. Nothing wrong with resto-modding. It can be cool, but I just something about it. Like I remember seeing for sale, there was a Chrysler Valiant Charger, right? And this guy has like thrown a 6.4 litre from a Chrysler 300C. He's like done it up and all this kind of stuff. And it was for sale first for about 80 grand. It's been for sale for about 2 years and no one wants it. And he's dropped it down to 60 grand. Yeah. But so
that's the thing. I mean, that sort of car is probably the sort of car that you do for yourself. You're never going to sell it. If you build a car that means something to you and you have a vision for it and then you end up going, oh, okay, it's time to get something else. You're probably not going to get what you want.
Not everyone has the same vision.
No.
Yeah, that's right. I think what's important as well is a bit of ingenuity and a bit of imagination.
Do something a bit different.
If you had taken like a Merlin engine and put it in there, or just taken a Spitfire engine, you know what I mean, and put it in there.
AU Falcon engine would have been good. 4 litre.
Yes.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Running on gas as well. Be perfect. Imagine the Pong.
Yeah,
mate,
absolutely.
You get 900 from a tank.
Yeah, absolutely. LPG, can't go wrong. Talking of also not going wrong, in our garage, we've had a bevy of cars. Mitch, you had a bit of a surprise this week when you went to pick up a Ford EcoSport, little SUV, and you drove away in a Mustang.
Yeah, so I went there and there was a bit of a mix-up with the cars. I was just like, your Ford EcoSport isn't here, but we've got another car pretty similar to it. So just take that and, swap it over when you get the other car. But, it was a V8, 2-door, so different type of EcoSport.
Very.
It's a Mustang.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when I saw it was bright orange as well, so
it's got to be.
If you're not going to get noticed in a Mustang, you're going to get noticed in a bright orange Mustang.
Yeah.
And when I got into it, my first reaction was I looked down and I saw it was a manual. I can drive a manual, just to clarify that, but because it's a Mustang, it's big, it's a V8, you think, oh, it's a manual, the clutch is going to be heavy, the gear changes are going to be heavy, it's just going to be a brute to steer. But I was really surprised. The clutch is so light. It's just like driving a normal hatchback. Same with the gear change. It's like, Like that earlier that day, I drove an MX-5 and the clutch didn't feel that much different from it. Like, it's not a struggle. Anyone can drive it.
That has always been a Ford selling point for the Mustang. It's never been a high-performance car that you had to be Steve McQueen to drive, even though that's what sold them all.
Yeah.
It's
and
always
you feel
had to
like
be,
Steve McQueen when you drive.
It just had to be, the 3 Fs, fast, affordable, and fun. Well, that's 2 Fs and an A. That was the mantra of Mustang, and it is easy to drive.
Yeah.
Anyone can drive that car. If you can drive a Ford, Escape, Cougar, you can drive a Mustang.
Yep.
Now, I've been in a Nissan X-Trail. Review is coming up very soon. I'm getting that in today, so you'll be reading it on Monday or later this afternoon, which is Friday. It's falling behind a little bit.
Yes.
I've been a bit of Mr. SUV at the moment. I've driven, pretty much every mid-size SUV under the sun right now, and I've just driven the Forester, which is a really good thing.
Yeah.
I've just, got out of Tiguan All Spaces and went to the new CX-5 launch, and I've got into the X-Trail. And 2 years ago, I thought the X-Trail was good.
Yep.
To me, it's fallen behind in terms of technology. You get into the cabin and it's
feels very
really
dated
old
and looks it.
So I won't give away any more, but you can read all about that in the review that's coming up. That's the X-Trail Ti.
Yep.
Now, we're going to roll also into what you've been up to this week as well. Because, Matt, you've had a few cars in your garage.
Yes, I have.
3 in particular. A Hyundai Kona.
Yep.
You've had a Honda HR-V. And we've had a CX-3 as well, Mazda CX-3.
Exactly.
Tell us a bit about why you've had those in your garage.
So we asked the people what they wanted to see, and they wanted to see a small SUV comparison. And so we did it. This week we spent a few days in the rain and the sun, as you'll see from the footage, just trying to figure out which one of these 3 is the best. Okay, so to set the scene, we got the versions of the CX-3, the Kona, and the HR-V all around the $25,000 mark. A little bit of movement either side of that, but the whole point of it was to see, if you're looking at 25 grand on a hatchback, let's see what you can get in SUV space for 25 grand. And so, right. it was a busy couple of days of testing.
Wet, cold, sunny, hot.
Yeah, it was.
Did you guys go down to Melbourne?
It was all in one.
It felt like Melbourne.
It was 2 days down south of Sydney, and yeah, I think we came away fairly clear with what we thought at the end of it as a trio of testers. It was myself, you, Richard Berry, and James Lyle from our oversteer / CarsGuide team, and the point of it was that if you need practicality, then I don't want to give too much away, but if you need practicality, then you shouldn't look at a CX-3 or a Kona.
No.
Because they are, like, in the true sense of the word, they are small SUVs.
Yeah.
Where the Honda HR-V is a small SUV but doesn't feel like it at all inside.
No. It's a TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yet, I really loved to drive the Kona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I guess the beauty of the segment is now, at this point in time, whether you're looking at those three or whether you're looking at things like the ASX or the Subaru XV or the Peugeot 2008 or the upcoming Citroen C3 Aircross or the Ford EcoSport, or, you know, there's
so much
there's
variety.
20 different cars you can choose from in that segment, and 3 that we chose all have distinct personalities of their own. And so HR-V, practical, functional, family-friendly, not as much of a driver's tool, but does everything you'd ask of it comfortably. CX-3, it's the more stylish, the more appealing inside. It's got a nicer interior. It feels a bit more special, and it's got safety stuff that the others don't. And then you've got the Kona, which is this aggressive little... I don't know. It looks like an insect. It's like a cranky little insect.
It's a Pokemon.
It's like rearing up at you. It's like, I'm going to get you. You know, like, it's this, and it's got the most aggressive driving character as well. And despite being the heaviest of the 3, it's got the most pep and the most go and the most agility. And it's just, it really highlighted to me over a couple of days, depending on what you want. Yeah, you know, there's a few decisions you could make.
Yeah, but you can't really have your cake and eat it.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
What is with you and eating and cake?
I know. I'm
cake.
a bit hungry.
Oh, okay.
Hungry. It's almost lunchtime.
But that's the thing. I think that there's... I don't know that there is an SUV in the segment that does it all.
No.
And I think that there's... I mean, Mazda, the CX-3 range is very broad. You can get front-wheel drive, petrols, diesels, all-wheel drives, manuals, autos, everything. Honda's gone very simple. It's like one engine, one gearbox, 4 trim grades, one of them sporty. And that's kind of cool. Then you've got Hyundai, which now has, I think you could choose one of 7 different versions of the Kona, ranging from 22 grand up to nearly 40 grand. And it's sort of like, this segment is so dynamic and so... It's like a evolutionary point for the market, because it's trying to get different buyers into different cars that they might not have considered before. But I keep coming back to it. Like, I think the 25 grand price point is kind of the sweet spot for small SUVs, because if you're thinking, well, I'm going to spend 35 grand on an SUV, then you should be looking at the next size segment up, because you're going to get a much better vehicle for, like, less compromised vehicle for the money.
Well, this is exactly what happened to our photographer. He and his wife bought a CX-3. Yeah. And then he bought a Tucson. Yeah. And instantly they realised they should have just got the Tucson to begin with. Yeah. Because one of the reasons why they got it was for his business, you know, putting all the camera equipment in the back. The CX-3 was just too small. Yeah. It looks. I love the look. I think the CX-3 is the prettiest. And
the looks kind of compromise
it's
the
a tiny car, but it's still got like this cab back and the long, beautiful nose, the same nose that a CX-9 and a CX-5's got. But it's just not practical. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, it really will depend on what you want from your small SUV. And we'll go into full detail in our long and in-depth written review and our in-depth video review, and which you'll probably see just how wet and dry we were over the couple of days that we did the testing. So,
oh God,
it was a journey.
It was a journey. Oh my God, we discovered more about ourselves than
the cars.
Thought we did, and more about the cars. Talking of self-discovery, here's Muskwatch. Oh, Elon.
Elon.
You know what? He never fails to come up with stories for us. There's not one time that, when the
You
James
can get a story
Cleary,
from him every day.
I know. Well, look, James Cleary, who normally, hosts the podcast, or myself, is never stuck for more Muskwatch information or material. So this week, rumours abound. James Murdoch, the one of the offspring of Rupert Murdoch, apparently was tipped at the start of this week to be replacing Elon as Tesla CEO. As you probably know already, Elon has stepped down from the CEO position because of the issues that went on with the Securities Commission, the settlement of that. And James Murdoch was tipped to be his replacement. Not true. According to Elon himself, he's actually tweeted only... When did he tweet? Oh, only a day ago, and he's just tweeted, "Not correct." So this was in response to a story which that the Financial Times wrote, and they've said, Financial Times said, James Murdoch has become the lead candidate to replace Elon Musk as Tesla's chairman. And then at 10:20 on the 11th of the 10th, Elon Musk has replied, "This is incorrect," and nothing else. And in true Elon fashion, has not revealed anything else.
Oh, why would you?
Well, exactly. He is an international man of mystery. And look, if you are a CEO and you are looking for a new position, maybe Tesla.
Yeah.
Could be big.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know whether I'd want to be handling that ball of fire, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? It's funny. Elon's other enterprises like SpaceX and the Boring Company, by all accounts, are going extremely well. It's just the car component of his empire. James is doesn't see it the same way that I do. I'm quite an optimist. I think Elon will get there. I think he's going through a journey of self-discovery, and he will drag us kicking and screaming into the future, regardless of me loving hot rods and petrol-burning beasts.
Well, to his credit, he's already dragged us a fair way there.
Yeah.
So,
he has really helped with the full electric car.
Yep.
And talking of dragging, we've got the Bloomberg tracker for the Model 3. Production is sitting at, now last week it was 4,181.
Which was all right.
Which is all right. Now the target was 6,000, right? 6,000 a week. It's gone up. It's now 4,224.
Wow.
Which is
something.
That's not too bad.
Well, it's better than going down like it was for a while there.
Yeah.
It almost got to what? Just 3,000 or something? Or
just 3, I think. At some point they had. But Elon set up the wedding marquee, which is this big tent, which is outside the Gigafactory, right? I think. And they're producing them in this tent as well, all around the clock.
Oh,
Elon's there, everyone's there. He's got Michelle Grimes out. Putting together Model 3s. Anyone could do it, apparently.
How many of these cars are going to come out with different coloured door panels?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Well, they already have.
Well,
We've already seen one with one brown one and one white one or something like that. But
probably more on the way.
I'm still holding out. I still reckon we'll get there. Look, and with that, we have reached the finish line. Thank you, Mitch.
Oh, no worries, mate.
And thank you very much, M4.
Thank you.
And to our producer, Marsden. We get there every week, but the fact is that while we can't explain things to him, we can't understand them for him either. And thank you for listening as well. Now, James has left us with a little joke too. Now, it's like James finishes with a joke each week, and it's quite funny. And it goes a little bit like this. A bloke is driving along with a trailer full of monkeys. They're all in the back, doing what monkeys do. They're all over the place. And
Hope they weren't throwing poo.
No, they weren't. Well, they were. They were monkeys. Drive past the policeman and he takes off after them and he goes, woo, and pulls over. He walks up to the driver and goes, "Mate, what are you doing? Well, we've got all these monkeys in a trailer." And the guy behind the wheel's like, yeah. He goes, "You can't do that. You can't be driving around with a whole lot of monkeys in your trailer." And the guy goes, "Yeah." And he goes, and the policeman says, "Take them to the zoo straight away. Get them to the zoo." And the guy goes, "Righto, thank you, officer." And he drives off. And the next day, in the very same spot, the guy drives past with a trailer full of monkeys again. And this time, they're all wearing sunglasses. Cop jumps on his bike again, because motorcycle cop, takes off after them. Boo! Walks up to the driver again, same bloke. He's got sunglasses on as well, and says, I thought I told you to take them to the zoo. The driver turns to the motorcycle cop and goes, yeah, I did. The cheeky things want to go to the beach today. That is it. All right, thank you very much for listening. Please give us your thoughts on anything we've discussed today. Search for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag CGPodcast or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. Tune in next week.